All right, we're back for part 2 of this jewelry cabinet, and I am cutting down the pieces for the door at the moment. Using the joiner here to get this edge nice and square. At the miter saw, taking off that factory edge. Continue to cut down the pieces of the door. And I'm using half laps on most of the joinery on the door and also the back piece. And so I'm just marking off for those. The half laps is basically you cut half off on one side and half on the other. So when you put them together, it equals the thickness of the wood. As you can see here, I'm going to apply the glue and then clamp them back up. Spread the glue on, and like I said, once I put this back on, you can see that it equals the original thickness of the wood. Making sure it's square, which when you do those half laps, as long as you do a fairly decent job, it's really easy to get it square. It kind of squares itself up. And now on the cabinet carcass, I wanted to strengthen up those 45-degree miters, so I used my biscuit cutter to put some splines in there. And here I'm just cutting away the splines, and I'll come back later on and sand those flush. And this is going to be sitting on a Lazy Susan, so this I'm just cutting the base for the cabinet, and then I'm also cutting the other side, the base, which was what it will sit on. It has a Lazy Susan sandwich in between it. And I got a little fancy there. Instead of doing the easy way out and doing butt joints, I went ahead and did the miter joints, glued them on, tacked them on with the pin nailer. And now I'm cutting down for the back shelves. Again, getting a straight edge on the jointer. Taking it down to the table saw and cutting the pieces down to rough size. Okay, and once again, I'm doing these half laps for the back shelves. And not only will the half laps be at the ends of the boards, it's also going to be in the middle of the boards, which made it a little bit tougher because everything's got to be lined up just perfect. And as you can see, that one went in just right. And so did that one. And now I'm gluing everything up, putting them in clamps. And I'm just doing a slight round over on all the edges. That was for the back piece, and this is for the door. Same thing, doing a round over, only on the front of the frame, the front of the face frame. I did not round over the back. I did take a piece of sandpaper to it though and break the edges. And now the more or less I'd say it's kind of like an A-frame for the back shelves. And this hinge was one of the only things I could really come up with, so I could adjust the angle just right. So I got that all lined up and getting this just to the right spot. And you can see I'm using that center finding bit to get it just in the center of those holes on the hinge. Flip it around, line it up, put the screws in the holes, screw them in, and there we go. Now I got that on there, and I'm putting these frame supports, and you can see that on the outside I made about a 30-degree chamfer. And putting some trim in on the inside of these shelves just to kind of cover up those gaps. And now I'm cutting the rabbet on the door, and this is where you'll see in a minute I'm going to laminate some sheets of, I think it was 3/16 ply, or maybe it was 1/8" ply. I can't remember, but whatever it was, it added up to 1/2 inch, and I needed 3 pieces. You'll see that in just a moment. And this rabbet I'm putting on there was a 1/2 inch rabbet. And here I am using the jig to drill for the hinges. This jig makes it super easy to get everything lined up perfect. As you can see, that hinge fits right in there. And now I'm actually going to screw them in place. And I use 4 hinges because of the weight of the door and the mirror that's going to go in there. Just want to play it safe. And this is that plywood I was speaking of, which I'm going to laminate together to make that 1/2 inch inset for the door. And that's what I will get the mirror glued to. I won't be doing it myself. I'm going to take it somewhere so they can cut the mirror and also glue it in place. And getting all the glue spread out evenly. Make sure all the there's total coverage. That's the first layer, and I'm gonna pour the glue for the second layer. Start putting the clamps on there, and you want to make sure you clamp it up good. You don't want any air pockets or spaces in there to where it can delaminate. And trust me, I got plenty of clamps to put on there. I don't think this will be going anywhere. I'm just making an extra call there, putting some tape on there so the glue won't stick to it. And using the cauls in an instance like this is really good because it really applies the pressure evenly. And after that dried, me and my grandson here, that's my little helper, getting this lined up so I can get a clean edge. He's sharpening his pencil there. And after I cut this edge, I'm going to take it over to the table saw and oh no, actually,
yeah, cut it.
I'm gonna let him cut this piece off.
Keep going.
Boy, he be working that saw, don't he?
It's okay. Keep cutting.
Caught his finger there.
Almost. Keep going. Good job.
There we go. And now we got that done at the table saw, and gonna cut it down to size. And now we're gonna glue it into the door. It'll set right inside the rabbet there. then once again, we're going to use these caws to put even pressure to get that set inside the rabbet, and it won't go nowhere. Danish oil is what I prefer to use as my first coat on, especially walnut. Just it soaks into the wood, helps to protect the wood and whatnot. And I applied probably about 2 coats of that. And here I am cutting some crown molding, and I'm setting up a little jig. Crown molding, you got to cut it upside down and at about a 45-degree angle, and this jig held everything in place so nothing would slip up. And my saw does look a little like it's at a bevel as well, but it's not. I think that guard there is just crooked. And you cut the crown, you want to cut it upside down. Now I'm going to glue the crown trim together and tack it with the little pin nailer. And these, I'm making the shelves, they're going to go inside the cabinet. Glue it up, clamp it up, pin nail it so the glue can dry. And this is the backing of the crown molding, and this is how you secure it to the top of the cabinet. And I'm using that stick right there as to make sure I get the shelves at the same height. Glue those in place, and then I'm gonna come back and put some walnut edge banding, solid wood edge banding on top of the shelves, so it'll appear to be solid wood. As you can see here, I'll glue it, pin nail it in place. And I ended up doing 4 of these shelves, but I believe I'm only showing how I did 2 of them, I think. And now I'm placing the crown molding on top, glued it, and now I'm going to pin nail it down. And now I'm putting the Danish oil on the inside of the carcass as well. And then I'm going to come back with some shellac, probably about 3 coats of shellac over the whole thing. And then after the shellac, I believe I put about 2 coats of Johnson's wax. And now I'm just spacing out where I'm gonna put the hooks. My client here wanted to be able to hang her necklaces inside this, so I put, oh man, I want to say 70 something hooks inside here. And I'm just getting it all spaced out evenly. And I can tell you that my thumbs were sore the next day from this. Like I said, I want to say it was 70 something of them I did. And once I finally got the door back with them installing the mirror for me, me and my son here, I needed his help to kind of hold the door steady for me. I got it on there, and this is the finished product. I hope y'all enjoyed this build. Thank you.